Hey, it's Francis again, and welcome to another level of Dungeon Synthesis. Last time we created a few new layers to make the song a little bit more interesting, and we got to a part where it seems like we might need to create a new section entirely. So, today, that's what I'm going to approach. Let's take a look. Alright, here we are back in Reaper, looking at our blank slate labeled Part 2. Now, let's quickly listen to the transition to this new section before we start composing it. Now, this guitar sounds like it just cuts off, and that's because over the last 4 sections, the guitar has bled over the bar line into the first measure of the next part of the song. Let's hear how that sounds. And because of that, and because our listener at this point is probably expecting another guitar note to happen here following this pattern, I think we should surprise them by allowing the guitar to take the melody in the next part. I'm hearing bum. I'm not sure about you, but it seems like an obvious choice to me. And something that I want to do to turn heads and ears, and we've spoken about turning ears inside out and the blood that creates. I'm going to add a new note that's not in the scale. And as a frame of reference, sometimes I'll draw my scale or my pitch structure right here on my grid. I think the best place to do that actually is to make your MIDI item start a little bit early and keep it on the left for your reference. And my favorite note to use in minor, or any minor mode, like Phrygian, that isn't in the scale, is this note right here. Now this note is right between the 4th and the 5th scale degree. So depending on your context, it could be a sharp 4 or a flat 5. Let's hear what it sounds like. Nice and evil. You know, looking at this scale makes me want to use it in our melody. Maybe I'll do it at a slower speed though. Let's hear that. I think that sounds pretty cool. And I'm going to follow the same principle in this new section, where the first measure and the third measure are going to be roughly the same. And the second and fourth measures are going to be slightly different from one another and very different from measures 1 and 3. Let's hear what this sounds like as a looping idea. So it's a little bit weird, but because it's the first part I've created for this section, it's not clashing with anything yet. And I think I'm up for the challenge of using it as is and just making sure the other parts that I create clash with it in a nice way if they clash at all. And I haven't used these other instruments down here, violin and fantasy. So I think that I'm going to introduce those in this section. So in a lot of kinds of music, especially music that uses scales, this fifth scale degree is the strongest one other than the starting point. So in this part, I'm going to begin on the fifth scale degree with my melody. And this is called a violin in the plugin, but you know what? The more I'm listening to it low, the more I like it down here. And I think I might use this as an accompaniment instrument. I'm going to focus on that flat fifth. I kind of like that. Let's hear it in context. You know, I really like that, but I do have a problem with it. This piano instrument was taking up a lot of space, and this violin instrument is quite a lot of treble. Now, I'm using my ear to determine that the violin has quite a lot of treble, but if you aren't confident that your ear is good enough yet, we can use a plugin to analyze the frequencies. And we can see here that there's quite a lot going on in the high frequency information of this. And when we compare that to, for example, the piano, we can see there's a lot more excitement going on in the high frequencies. If you don't have a frequency spectrum analyzer plugin, most graphic EQs have something similar built in. Now, if we think back to our episode on filters, I use an EQ as a filter. I think I'm going to do that here with this file. Because I'm not using it as a violin, I'm using it sort of as a bass sound. And if you recall, we used a filter on a sawtooth waveform to create our bass sound. And I think that helps quite a bit. Now, I'm also thinking that I might put another instrument lower than this violin in this section. So I'm also going to filter out the low end. That helps a lot. And I think the reason I feel this drop here is because our piano instrument cuts out after having been a consistent force for the whole song. It also has a lot of bass. So I think that what I want to do here is pick a nice low note and have a driving bass line in this part. Let's hear what this sounds like. I think the idea sounds really cool, but I might change the rhythm or the notes. Right now, I'm using what's called a pedal tone, where one of my instruments remains on the same pitch, while other instruments change what they're doing. You'll hear this in a lot of music, and I think that as a beginner, I had a lot of trouble noticing when it happened. I would just notice that it would sound really good. If I remember to, I'll link to a couple of songs that use pedal tones in a brilliant way in my description. For now, I'm going to leave it as it is. And I think what I want to do here is to double my guitar melody with this fantasy instrument. Let's try looping this section. I think that fantasy instrument replaces the flute nicely in this new part. And in order to create the same type of phrasing, I'm going to try making this part happen 4 times. I think that I'll need to change certain parts of it, but let's see what happens. Let's see if we get sick of it after the first repeat. You know, I think I want to change it on the second time, but I might also be able to live with having it twice identically if I go back to this part or go to a new section. So what I think I'll do is get rid of these, and if I change this second one, I'll change it very slightly, and then I'll try returning to this part. Let's see if this transition even works. You know, I think it works well enough, especially if I make some adjustments to these parts in here. And if I make some lead-in notes and if I make some notes leading in and out of some of these parts. But we'll have to approach that next time. That's all for today's episode. Thanks a lot for watching. Next time, I'm going to look at pickup measures and pickup phrases to create more interesting transitions in your songs. I'll see you then.